The lesser the I, the lesser the feeling of individuality, the lesser the load of karma, and more light we travel in our life. Namaste. My name is Bidhan. 2012 is when I chanced upon Upanishads, and it had a profound impact on my life. Since then, I have dreamt to bring the key aspects of Upanishads in a manner which is simple, relatable, and implementable in our daily lives. So here we are with a set of videos to make spirituality simple. Welcome, Preeti.
Hi, Bidhan.
How do you feel in this new place?
Nice. I like the new setup. Change is inevitable.
Change is inevitable. So, in our previous row podcasts, we have been contemplating on the idea that if everything is one, why does it feel that I am separate from this entire universe? It's like the boundary stops at this body and mind. Is it still very complicated for you to get a hang of this?
It is still very much complicated, but I think that one thought that this feeling of I is what separates me from the rest of the universe. I think that's the one thing that has stood with me.
That stood with you.
Yeah.
To our viewers who are watching this episode for the first time, I will request you to stop the video if you haven't watched the previous two episodes, because it is in continuation of what we are talking. And more importantly, if you are interested in being a part of our regular workshops, go ahead and put your details in the link which is given in the description below. So back to you, Preeti.
Yes.
So you said that you were contemplating about this.
Yeah, and I had some time to think about it also. And I think that that feeling of I and having as my thoughts, my mind, is what sort of separates me from things around me, I think.
Interesting. Can you talk more about it? In your own words, the way you experience this entire concept.
See, let's take, for example, the conversation we are having right now itself, right? I think that all the words that I want to say are already formed or already, the thoughts are already there. And then slowly the words are coming out of my mouth. I feel like my brain sort of puts the sentence together before I would say my conscious mind is aware of it.
So you're saying the words are already decided which words are going to come. You're not consciously choosing these words, but after you have spoken, it feels I have spoken.
It feels like it was my thoughts. It
Your
was my
thoughts.
words.
But it was any which way happening.
Yeah.
Beautiful example. In fact, if you refer to Upanishads, they will say that everything is an interaction of Prakriti, which is nature, and the vasanas, which are my latent tendencies. So, Prakriti and tendencies are combining itself to produce an outcome, and the Ahankara, the I, feels that it is the one which is doing.
Right.
Right?
What is latent tendencies?
We're all born with certain latent tendencies.
Okay.
That's what we spoke about, that mental impressions, your subconscious patterns, those are at play.
Right.
And the environment is at play. And everything is coming out with its output. But it feels that I am the one who is doing it. Just like it feels that you have chosen certain words to express. No, the words are flowing.
Right.
But it feels that you are the one who is making those words happen. That feeling of I, that I am the doer. And the interesting part here, Preeti, is that a child, maybe up to 18 months, doesn't have that feeling of I.
Wow.
Yeah.
And in fact, is that why they they say children are like God? Because they don't have that feeling of separateness? Is that why?
For all you know, yes, because there is no feeling of self. But interesting point here to note is that as the brain develops, the feeling of I becomes more and more prominent. That I am this body and mind. So somewhere it suggests that the feeling of separateness, that I stops here, that feeling of I stops here, is a function of the brain development.
Okay.
So, in effect, you'll see that a lot of things are merely happening, and there is an Ahankara thought, the I thought, which kind of claims that it is the doer.
When you say there's an Ahankara thought, I mean, can you explain that a little bit further?
Shall we do a thought experiment?
Of course. It wouldn't be a conversation without a thought experiment.
Can you recall an instance when you were angry?
Angry?
Yeah.
Of course, just today while coming here and being stuck in traffic, someone pushed me off the road so they could overtake me, and that made me, I sort of became angry.
So you said I became angry.
Yeah.
Okay. Was that anger spontaneous, automatic, or you decided to be angry?
It was automatic, spontaneous.
So the anger was spontaneous. Then the associated thoughts that how dare he or she push me? They are not following the traffic signal. Those thoughts would have come into your mind. Were their thoughts again automatic, or it was thought through?
Automatic, yes.
Automatic. So your anger was automatic. Your thoughts were automatic. The way you would have responded would also have been very automatic in that moment.
Yeah.
So everything happened, but you said, I became angry. Do you see this? That there is a feeling of I that kind of attaches itself with the emotions and the thoughts and makes it like a unified thing, that I became angry. So I is not a doer, the doing is happening. But because of that ahankara, that I thought, it feels that the doing is happening by I,
Us.
me,
Wow. Okay.
right?
You're saying that the feeling of I is also like a thought which comes and goes.
Yeah. So even if this I thought was not there, the anger would have happened, the thoughts would have come, the body would have responded. But because of that I thought, it feels that I am doing it.
And that's why when I said I became angry, you stressed and you said I became angry.
Exactly the point.
Right.
Do you see how subtle this is?
It is a very subtle, because it was my thought and it was my action. Like I got angry, like the anger came. But the feeling, what you're saying is when I associate the word I to that anger, there's some identification that happens over there.
As soon as you said my thoughts,
Yeah.
see, already in the words you're saying my thoughts, those were thoughts.
Like how I said the words are already formed. Correct. Yeah.
So it's not my thoughts. The thoughts with Ahankara Vritti feels like my thoughts, but those are thoughts. In fact, this Ahankara Vritti, this I-ness, the feeling of I, can be felt when you are absolutely mindful. Also in the seats of meditation, you can actually experience that feeling of I-ness. And the day I kind of understood this, it really shook me from inside, and my life changed. I would not say dramatically, but the more clarity came about the fact that this I is also merely an illusion, a lot of things changed in my life.
Wow.
And when I'm saying my life again, I'm saying, see, look, I mean, this is the challenge of the words, but a lot of things changed, yeah.
But when you say the words, it shook me. What did you mean by that? Like how?
Okay. What I saw, or what there was a realization, again, if I say I saw. All right. So when there was a realization that there are moments in my day where there is no feeling of me as this body and mind. Specifically when I am meditating, specifically I am in the flow, or there are things that I do, it doesn't feel that I am restricted, or there's a restriction at this body and mind. It feels that I become the field, the entire field itself. And there are times it feels that I am doing this. So there are moments when there is no feeling of individuality, and there are moments where there's a strong feeling of individuality. When I'm individuality, I mean I'm this, me, which means that this feeling of I comes and goes, which means that this I is not constant. And if it is not constant, it clearly says that this is not real. Because if something is real, it will be in and through. If I is real, if this I am, this body and mind is real, that I should always feel that. Why should I feel like a field? Why should I feel expanded in certain moments in my day? So that was my first revelation, that I am beyond this feeling of I, because I'm able to experience the coming and going of I. If I can experience the coming and going of this identity, which means I'm beyond this identity. And that is where my journey in Upanishads became very, very profound. That was the first revelation. The second was that it always felt that I am the one who is taking decision. This I is the decision maker. But the interesting part was that decision gets taken and it feels that I is the one who has taken the decisions. Jabki I is just a thought. And the third, that all my life, what I have been doing is only protecting this I. So these were some of the things that actually shook me.
Wow. I think just listening to you, it sort of brings back for me also the feeling, because I've also sometimes experienced this feeling of oneness.
Yeah.
Right? So I get what you're trying to say. But you also mentioned just now that the I is not the decision maker, right? I understand that we have a lot of thoughts are there in our subconscious, but at the end of the day, I am the one making that decision, right?
Okay. You say that I thought is the decision maker. If you remember, when we broken the mind into 4 parts, we called it Manas, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara. What was it? What is Manas? Manas is where all the thoughts are coming, right? A lot of emotions are coming. And who makes the choices? There's another part of the mind which is called Buddhi.
Buddhi, the intellect.
The intellect chooses, and the choice gets implemented by the different parts of the body. So I does not make a choice. The choice, the decision is taken by another part of the mind which is called Buddhi.
Okay.
So let me break this further. Just now you asked me a question that doesn't I make the decisions? This is what you asked. Was this question thought or it just came?
It just came.
It just came to you, right? So was the decision taken by you, or decision was taken by a particular aspect of your mind, by your buddhi?
Right. It was an automatic thing. Yes.
And later you said that I asked this question. Do you see this subtlety of it? The things are just propping up from your mind. And then another aspect of your mind called Ahamkara Vritti, or I thought, kind of claims and says, I asked. I question. I asked this question. But this question would have been any which we asked, whether this I was there or not.
Wow. Okay. I think it's a very subtle concept to understand, though.
It is. One needs a lot of awareness, mindfulness to kind of catch this I.
So is this mentioned only in the Vedas and Upanishads, or is science also behind this? I know I keep asking that.
Good you asked me this question. This is one place where Upanishads and science are completely unified. In fact, I've done a lot of work. I have studied a lot of cases on split brain. I'm not getting into the nuances of it. And also on the modular theory of mind. They are convinced without doubt that I, the feeling of I, or the sense of agency that we all have, is a construct of evolution, or it is more like an advertising agency for yourself, in the sense that I doesn't do anything. It just projects that I have done it. It is more like after the decisions are taken, after the work has been done, the I thought kind of claims that I am the doer and projects to the entire world that I did it. And there are reasons behind it. There are evolutionary reasons behind it in terms of why the I thought attaches itself. I'm not getting into the details of it. But the interesting part here is that the feeling of I, that I am the decision maker, That's
Wow.
again a big illusion. The decision gets taken, the deeds get done, the I attaches itself to it and says, I have done it.
Wow. So you're trying to say that there are thoughts, there are emotions, there are actions, and it's just that the I or the Ahankara sort of attaches itself to it, which makes us feel like I am the one doing it.
Yeah, and it feels that I am this body.
I
and
am the
mind.
body and mind. It's my thoughts, my emotions, my feelings.
Yeah.
I think an automatic question has popped
I
up.
know what you are going to ask, and if you are thinking what I am thinking, then please don't ask that question.
But I mean, you know that it's going to come up with that. If you're saying that this is not my thoughts, right? It is I is separate from the thoughts and the mind. We've established that. Then where is the question of my karma? Where is the question of free will? Where does that come in?
You are saying when things are merely happening,
Yeah,
and the feeling of I is merely a thought, an illusion,
illusion.
right? So there is no I, so there is no individual karma, and therefore there is no free will.
Exactly.
That's what you're trying to say? Or
And
ask?
considering we are discussing karma, I think that's a valid question.
Preeti, I would love to answer that question, but can we take it in the following episodes? The reason is that the question that you asked earlier, that why do we feel that we are a separate self when everything is one, that question will get derailed. I promise you this will be answered, but can we just hold on to that question for the time being?
All right. Even though I know that I is not real, I will allow you to bench that question for the moment because I really want the answer to the actual what I asked you first.
Is there a free will or not?
Not that. When we were talking about doer, so I want you to answer that first. I will allow you to bench the free will question for now. Yes.
Okay. Fine.
Right. So since we're benching that, you had mentioned when we were talking about the three things that really stood out for you, right? You had mentioned that you are protecting this feeling of I-ness, if I remember right.
Okay, what I said was that we have been protecting I all throughout our life.
Right. So what does that mean? What do you mean by protecting and why are we protecting?
Let's do a thought experiment again.
Wow. Yes.
That's the only way we
I
can
think
understand.
that it really helps. You know what? Even though I keep saying, okay, we do it, but when you break it down like that, it really helps with that.
Yeah, let's do that. Because I is a very subtle concept in itself. Okay. Suppose someone tells you that you are not a good mom. How will you feel?
I mean, how dare they? It would really hurt me. And with what knowledge, how are you coming to that conclusion? I would definitely want to know that.
Right. I can see that anger is already showing up in your body. If someone, the same person tells you that your neighbor is not a good mom, how would you feel then?
I don't think I would have this reaction that I just had. Yes.
Yeah. You may question, but you will not feel the way you felt right now. Why did you feel so much when it was about you and not about your neighbor?
Because they were talking about me and me as a mother.
They were talking about motherhood, right? Your motherhood and the neighbor's motherhood. And both of the places they are saying that, hey, this is not good, this is not good. But why there was so much of a reaction when it was spoken about your motherhood?
Because somewhere that means they're questioning my role as a mother, me, and my identity, right?
So you're slowly coming to that point. Motherhood is a process. The motherhood is a process. It is happening the way it has to happen. Now, because of that Ahankara Vritti, the I-ness, it feels like I am the mother. And when the mother gets attacked, the motherhood, the idea of motherhood gets attacked, because of the identification of Ahankara Vritti, it feels I am getting attacked. And therefore, your mind, your body, your emotions are up against that person or that thought, trying to protect the identity. Because that identity is built because of I-ness.
Okay.
Okay, it's
I understand a little bit, but can you elaborate a little bit more?
okay. I'm taking it away from you and bringing it onto myself because
Right.
I've always understood that this I-ness is so strong that it will. Okay, when we put together this podcast, there is a lot of effort that goes in putting this all together, right? Now, having done all the work, suddenly you end up seeing a very nasty comment.
Hmm.
It happens in all the places. Now, if I have a feeling that it is my podcast, it is my content, it is my effort, it is I who is doing this, then a nasty comment will feel very personal to me, that it has been told against me, right? On the other hand, if I kind of see this entire process, that this process is happening through me, that information is being shared, everything has been put together, the experiences are being spoken about, and when a comment comes in, it basically talks about one aspect that has been spoken about. Then if there is no feeling of I being doing it or it is mine, the effect is not all that bad. Do you see this? So when I kind of claim it is mine, that it is I, me, myself, then it becomes very, very strong and everything starts looking personal. But on the other hand, when it is seen as a process and you're witnessing it as a process, not as me, then you are able to kind of take more objective assessment of things. It does not affect you so much. Do you get this?
Okay. So because you mentioned it like that, if I take it back to the previous example, you're saying because I am so attached, the feeling of I is attached to that feeling of motherhood,
Yes.
is why that the emotion comes from within saying that you have attacked the I, you have attacked me,
Yes.
or my identity.
Yes.
So you're saying the less you're attached, less that the Ahankara attaches with the concept of motherhood,
Right.
then I would probably have the same reaction I had as when you said maybe they said it about your neighbor.
Exactly.
Because they're only talking about motherhood and they're not talking about the I. Wow.
You see
Okay.
this?
Okay.
So this I-ness is what kind of creates that very strong identity. It like my thoughts, my body, my idea, my beliefs, my learning, right? My family.
I am right. You
I
are
am
wrong.
right. So all that I-ness
Yeah.
kind of creates that glue, and the stronger the identity, the difficult it is because it will get attacked.
But let me ask you this, okay? I've understood this where we are talking about the stronger the identity or stronger the attachment, the more involved we get, right? But knowing this, knowing about the I-ness, how is it actually going to benefit me, or how is it going to help me in my day-to-day life?
Okay. Just now we spoke about this podcast.
Right.
Now tell me where I'll be more effective. When I am having a strong I, when I end up taking each comment personally, or where I am just looking it as a witness. Where do you think I'll be more objective? Where will I be more at peace?
When you talk about objectivity and peace, I think the witness.
Actually, right?
Yes.
Let's take a second example. We spoke about anger. Look, anger is an emotion. There is nothing good and bad about it. There are times when we have to use these emotions to get the things done. And there are times, even when this emotion comes, we just need to let go,
Right.
right? So the anger has to be utilized. But generally, does that happen? Or we get utilized by the anger? What does it
I
happen
think
generally?
the second one, what you said.
We generally get used by the anger, right? And also, if the anger is very strong, it is unlikely you can do anything about it. It will overtake you. Yes? Similarly, if you look at your Ahankara Vritti, your I-ness, as another thought, just like you look at maybe anger, pleasure, happiness, sadness, anxiousness, just like You look at every other emotion. If you look at I as one of your emotions, then you may choose to sometimes identify with it and sometimes let go of I.
Wow.
Because if you let go of I, the karma dissipates very quickly. Very, very quickly.
So you're saying much like, because right from the beginning we have been talking about how our thoughts come and go, like a visitor, I think you had mentioned that once. So you're saying just like that, the feeling of I also comes and goes, and it's not a permanent, something that's permanent. So you have a choice when you want to use it to your advantage and when you can say, okay, it's okay to let go.
Absolutely. See, just think about it. When the feeling of I is very strong, your identification becomes very strong.
Yes.
With everything that I attaches itself, it feels like mine, right? You get identified. So the more stronger the I is, the more we get identified and attached with everything with which I is attached with. And the more the attachment, we really know what it means. The more are the chances of disappointment, right? And a lot of our karma gets built because of strong identification. But when this I-ness loosens up a bit, karma will happen, but not at the intensity it happens with I. It is like the fan is moving around. When you switch off the light, the fan will continue to move. The karma will continue to happen, but after a point of time, it will start slowing down. So the feeling of I is what propels the karma.
Right.
The lesser the I, the lesser the feeling of individuality, the lesser the load of karma, and more light we travel in our life.
Wow, I think you brought that out so beautifully, Vedant. And this fan example is sort of staying with me. You're saying that the less I identify, or the less someone I'm saying I identify itself. I know the second you said it, you're like, no. But the less you identify with the Ahankara or the I, then slowly your karma also starts dissipating.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, that's, I think, my biggest takeaway. So then I think we've still somewhere not answered the question we started off with, where you're saying that we are all one, that everything is one, right?
Yes.
And that would essentially mean that everything is changeless,
Yes.
right? So if everything is changeless, then where's the question of doing? Doing essentially means change, right? So what is this question of who's doing and who's the doer and what are they doing?
Okay, so let me reframe what you are asking. You are asking me is that, okay, because of the feeling of I, it feels I am the doer.
Right.
Well, I'm not the doer, the doing is happening. But if everything is Brahman and everything is one, right? Everything is changeless, then where is a question of doing? Because doing means change.
Yeah.
Then
That's
how
exactly
can change
what I said.
happen in something which is
Changeless.
Right? Is that what you're asking? Perfect. Then we should pick it up in our next episode. This is a nice question to have. And to our viewers, if you like this, good. And if you want to be a part of our workshops, do go ahead and sign up, which is there in the link below.
And if you like this episode, do share it with your friends. Don't forget to leave your valuable comments below. Like the episode, share the episode, and definitely subscribe to our channel.